Original articles drop part 1, 2, and 3 of the Perpetual Trauma Machine series, where Shane Cashman defended Eliza Bleu and her actions wholesale without any kind of critical fact evaluation. He just took her word for it. And honestly, that three-part article was a very, very cringy sort of storytelling style. It was just so self-indulgent. How he wrote those pieces. And of course, it's been pulled since. And Timcast is basically, I covered this before, but Timcast blamed it on the way it's been perceived by the readers and apologized for the inconvenience of the readers misperceiving it. Right? It's just completely non-apologetic nonsense. But anyway, so let's see what this is about. What we will find out is Shane basically part three seriously put Timcast in the risk of um, a lawsuit by Defango, who was clearly identified with by a bunch of names and facts that were mentioned. Right? And of course, Defango, I don't think Defango was a small creator. I don't think he had the resources to go after Timcast, one of the biggest channels in the sort of center conservative space. But, they couldn't just dismiss that because there was so much momentum behind it. There was so much anger by Timcast's own viewers of how Tim dismissed everything, called everyone that was struck or banned by Eliza as just drama, petty drama content creators. Um, it just completely dismissed the whole thing, right? And that's important because when people get banned like that, when people get struck like that, a real sort of support in Twitter space by other people can bring you back. Timcast standing behind that kind of criticism to bring people back could have done the job. But of course, Tim had a hissy fit. He refused to do it. He still, he released apology videos, and I think maybe Ian maybe had a video as well, criticizing Eliza Bleu and stuff. But it's in the end, I don't think Tim's really done anything like that. Um, After blowing up at his own audience, he really hasn't addressed it to everyone's satisfaction. And you can still see that, like the latest Timcast RL, like the super chats or the chats and super chats, they were like locked to members only, like members of Timcast. Um, and you can see from the comments, people are still mad about it. It's like, it's like um, basically there is a lot of angry sentiment about how Timcast responded, how he's continuing to respond, and basically Tim just doing his thing, dismissed people, sort of gave a half apology, and continued to ignore the concerns of the people that had it in the first place. So I'm going to read through the article, but um, I fully expect it's going to be more of the same. I don't think Shane Cashman is going to apologize for what he said. To the extent that he backpedals on what he said, I think he will just spin it to another Defend Eliza story. So let's take a look. All right. After the publication of third segment in the Eliza Bleu series, Shane Cashman contacted Manuel Chavez, a name who had been reported as one-time affiliate of a now defunct public relations company, He has clarified his distance from the company and said he does not employ the tactics that have been previously reported on. So, a couple of things to note. One, it's really weird that Shane Cashman wrote an article referring to himself as Shane Cashman in the third person. Strange. Number two, um, when he was shooting down DeFango with all sorts of accusations, um, factual claims, by the way, um, factual claims as in like purporting to be fact, but um, obviously not true and obviously legally actionable. But when it comes to actually clearing his name, all of a sudden it's like, well, Chavez claims this or he says that. He says that he's never been whatever. So I don't think Shane is ever going to apologize for any kind of thing that he wrote. He's basically still like, well, he says this, but at the time I thought this because my perception was blah, 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 blah. Right. Just dissociate it from, get away from the fact of the matter. Continuing on, the company in question offered the normal services of a PR company but extended it to a reputation management tracking by creating positive and negative social media campaigns. They would buy positive articles, postings, and accounts to promote people, but would also engage in negative campaigns against the target if the client requested it. Chavez said that they were essentially a group of LARPers trying to copy the model of Black Cube and Redacted. Chavez said he began associating with the people close to this company after delving into intricate popular online puzzles and gaining some attention by allegedly solving them. He interacted with the people he believed created the puzzles and, according to him, felt like he'd eventually been taken hostage by their hopium. Chavez says that he has spent years trying to expose the wrongdoings of people in that circle, but keeps being lumped in with them despite the efforts. He told Shane Cashman that he ended up uh, getting a restraining order against some of the people he used to interact with, and that he ultimately moved to another state to escape the danger he believed they posed to him. He provided Timcast News with copies of the order. The following interview is directly from the conversation between Cashman and Chavez after the release of Part 3. Timcast News cannot independently verify many of the claims made by the subject at this time, but we have decided to present the discussion as it occurred for transparency. We have edited out the names of individuals and the company. So a side comment at this point, is Shane Cashman writing this? Supposedly, that's what it says in at the beginning. But referring to himself in the third person, Shane Cashman, blah blah blah. Also, he's constantly mentioning Chavez said this according to Chavez. He says blah blah blah. So it looks like he's sort of. It's almost like an insult, right? Because the reason why the parts one, two, and three were pulled was because the readers misperceived the style of the writing or whatever, and now it's like, well, you guys are obviously too dumb to understand that style of writing. I'm gonna write it in an ultra sort of objective style, except not in substance, because he's not citing sources, he's not citing facts. So it's almost like a caricature of proper journalism, but it's not, right? Let's continue on. Cashman. I don't want to do to anyone else what I think everyone's doing to Eliza, which is unjustly targeting anyone. And if I'm wrong, I'd like to figure out how and why. So this is going to be a recurring theme, I think. Basically connecting what Cashman did to Well, Cashman's going to make it out like it's other people doing it, right? Uh, what the real gang stalkers are doing to the Vango to make him seem like the original gang stalker, that kind of victimization is the same kind of victimization that Eliza's going through. So Cashman is still heavily like coming in hard at simping for Eliza. Completely ignoring the fact that her stories don't make much sense. They don't seem to check out. That she's taken action against people in Twitter and YouTube to get them banned or struck. So it's really frustrating. But anyway, Chavez, I've been getting censored off Twitter, YouTube, and many other platforms unjustly because of my history. The PR company, this company that I whistleblew on, I'm the guy that put all the information that you read about it. But I don't get any credit for it. Everyone just says that I was behind it. They say that this is something that I did, but it can't be further from the truth. It's centered around the previous company that they wanted to start. Basically, what they were doing was using this operation to like sow disinformation chaos into the system to spread disinformation. They go and purposely feed disinformation to people. Wow, how many times can you say disinformation in one paragraph, right? Continuing on, the issue here is that a lot of these people that have been connected to this have died, like committed suicide. And if you read about me being connected to suicides, it's because everyone's talking about these people that have died, and most of them died like after I left. Basically, like all these people were like me and solving these puzzles. Basically, they would just horrendously stalk you through the internet. I hate to say that gang stalking is even real or whatever, if I've ever experienced any type of stalking, it's probably that kind of. I had a group of people, part of some secret online organization, basically spending the entire day trying to fucking destroy me online, whether it was Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So you know what Eliza feels like she's having happening to her right now, literally has happened to me for the last 5 years. I don't want her to have an issue. I was literally just pissed off one day that she blocked me when I was like trying to ask her questions. It was lightly trolling her because, okay, like, can you just like tell somebody something? Can you be like at least give us something in this situation? And I had seen that there were a lot of other people online that have been saying stuff about this particular situation before me. I don't have a team, I'm a single guy. Okay, just a quick comment. Like, uh, this is the thing. Like Chavez is just talking, and unfortunately, his talking style has a lot of um, the word like, and it's just things not making grammatical sense and or being consistent. I mean, I probably do the same thing, but I think he's got the bug a little bit worse than I do. So he's telling his story the way that he's expressing it. And I don't know, like, is it really effective to actually present his speech in that manner? Um, if you're gonna do that, why not just release original interview video? You know, not put it out in a written article like this. Um, I mean, just if you're gonna do that, it's like, why didn't you just do the courtesy of just fixing a few things here and there? Just grammatically, I mean, without changing the content. Because you've obviously done that to yourself with your questions, right? So, anyway. Cashman, you're not running any operation? Chavez, I'm basically broke, right? I've been door dashing so that I can pay my rent. I put this thread out, and then I just decided I wouldn't worry about it anymore. I felt like I'd spoken my piece, and I was like, okay, if I was wrong, honestly, I wanted to be proven wrong. That's the whole point. I wanted to give Eliza what she needed. I don't think people really picked up on it. Trust me, I didn't try to feed this to other people. I never meant for her to have this whole perpetual trauma machine going on. I know that it's been difficult, obviously. No, it's not obvious, Defango, Chavez, whatever you want to be called. Um, Look, you don't have to simp for Eliza. Like, I mean, I guess if you want to, go for it, but this is such garbage energy. It just makes you seem like a really tiny, small timer creator that's sucking up to Cashman and Timcast and just borrowing their narrative wholesale after they try to beat you over the head with it and try to shove you under the bus and blaming you for starting all this or whatever. And number one, you're not that important, bro. Like you're not what started all this, right? I mean, technically you might have been the start of it, maybe if you were the first one to be struck or whatever it is, but it's beyond you. A lot of other creators have been affected. A lot of people have been banned. A lot of people have been struck. And the fact that you completely ignore them, much like Shane is ignoring them, much like Tim's ignoring them, and the rest of Timcast is ignoring them. Um, I mean, it just seems so self-absorbed and not in touch with what's going on. So you basically sold out to the Timcast Shane narrative, and what was that for? For this interview? Like, what did this get you? Or maybe you really do think that Eliza has done nothing wrong and she's just being victimized, everybody. Like, you're being victimized or whatever. And in that case, well, I don't know what else to say. If that's what you actually believe, then I would say that your rational brain has been broken by whatever appeal you find in the victim narrative. It seems silly. Continuing on, Cashman, I personally have no problem with people asking questions, and you can talk all the shit you want. People could say, he's been affiliated with the company, and then hear him talk about how he's laughing about knowing people who's killed themselves. Now you're putting it in a different light, where it's like you've blown the whistle on these people. There have been articles written about these tactics. Wow, that's really sort of Shane, I don't like your writing style. You know what? Because you purposely don't make it clear what it is about that you're talking about. When you're saying these tactics, are you talking about the tactics of the people that he's whistleblowing? Are you including cash? Are you including like Chavez's um, take on it? Almost saying like, well, if you're deflecting, maybe you're just deflecting like these people by saying, well, it's not you, but other people doing it to you, and you're just a whistleblower. It's pretty shady writing, bro. All right. Chavez, I'm not behind any type of smear campaign. I'm not a bot master. I can barely afford to pay my rent. I don't even like bots. I don't even like bots. Anyway, back in 2017, people were accusing me of this stuff. In reality, it was these other people that were allegedly using bots. They were buying bots on my channel, purchasing subscribers, purchasing Twitter followers. They were manipulating me. They targeted me because I've been solving these online puzzles, right? They target people like me, people that are on the spectrum, people that have, I guess, issues in society. I obviously have social issues. I'm kind of a loner. I don't really hang out with many people. They were buying subscribers on my YouTube channel. So my thought was this was an organic thing that was happening to me, but it was actually just manufactured to the point where I went from having 2,000 subscribers to having over 10,000. I thought I was a big successful YouTuber. It only took about 6 months to start figuring out that something strange was happening. I was getting all these subscribers, but my views weren't going up. Reporters like Will Summer from the Daily Beast, they just went with another narrative. The sad thing here is that I was the source for Will. I gave him the information first. Then he went and tried to fact check you, and uh, and you want everyone else to fact check me, right? I literally had to get a restraining order from my former associates. They were getting physical with me, putting hands on me, trying to hurt me, basically telling me, like, yo, if you fucking try to leave, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to tell people that all this was your idea. It's kind of hard to believe. Wow. I literally had to get a restraining order from them. Cashman. I'm not trying to be mean or fucked up, but what you're describing is kind of like the hostage type situation that Eliza was telling us about when her fucked up shit. With her fucked up shit. Really, Cashman? Like, you're just trying to defend Eliza so hard, man. It's kind of getting ridiculous. Uh, and you still not, addressing the real core issues, which is her actively censoring people for doing things that are perfectly legal to do and actually does not hurt her reputation any more than she hurt it herself. But anyway, Cashman, when you saw the Daily Beast article about Eliza and it was written by Will Summer, did it give you any pause because of what he had done to you previously? What did he do previously? Anyway, Chavez, yeah, actually, I had noticed that he was poking around. He followed me on Twitter. They never reached out to me directly or anything, but Will has been pretty well known for following me around and picking up stories over the years. I don't work with the Daily Beast at all. Cashman, there's been so much distortion following the Eliza story. Has there, though? Really, Cashman? Anyway. It seemed nefarious when you created that Hello Troy website on your live stream. Okay, so this is not really an apology. It's more like, hey, let me just defend myself and defend Eliza again, just by associating this Stefango guy, because the kind of victimization that you receive from those other people, and to a great extent, me, the most recently, well, that's kind of all part of victimhood that Eliza's experiencing right now. Garbage. Anyway, Chavez, you thought that was crazy? I was just sitting there, we were trying to research it to figure out, hey, did somebody actually own this thing? And then I saw that they have been on Wix.com and there'd never been an actual website or actual website archive. I was like, I was just like, uh, hey, this is great opportunity for me to try to sell my hosting company. Like I just thought that, hey, this would be a perfect way to showing people that I could buy a domain name and leave or have everything up online in 30 minutes and it'll be a funny gag, right? Cashman, it seemed like someone creating more chaos and doing it in the open. I stand by the Eliza story. You do? Really? But this addendum is, and the whole reason why he pulled the first three parts and releasing his addendum is because you don't stand by the Eliza story because there were obviously something's wrong, even if it's just something as localized as um, having all sorts of false accusations against Defango. But anyway. Continuing on, and I still stand by the fact that there were these coordinated campaigns that happen on the internet that are wicked. I'd like to take you at your word the same way I did with Eliza. So uh, I'd like to take you at your word the same way I did with Eliza. So I'd like to say to people, look, this is what he said, but it's maddening to be honest. Uh, okay. So basically, yeah, he still stands by the Eliza story, which is garbage, by the way. Um, complete fake, you know, human trafficking survivor, just to add more clout to whatever little work that she's been doing to help survivors, I guess. But it's all artificial nonsense. And with the with her actions after being called out being especially heinous. All right. Chavez, no, I understand how maddening it can be. I've been on the computer since I've been 7 years old. I feel really bad about how this Eliza thing came out. Like, honestly, I felt like I would have put up my thread, and then Eliza would have been like, all right, F you. You know what? Here's where you're wrong. I figured I was going to be helping more or less. Like, I was like, hey, these are hard questions. God, this writing style. Cashman, did anything from the story change your mind or make you see anything different? Chavez, in some ways, I guess. I guess she told you some names, and you said that you looked it up, and it seems like it might be there. Uh, hmm. Anyway, I guess she told you some names, and you said that you looked it up, and it seems like it might be there. It seems like it might be true. I mean, for the young stuff, I don't really change my mind, but can I argue with it? No, I cannot, because I wasn't there. And I honestly don't know, so I have to concede on that way, because literally, she doesn't have any evidence that she can give besides the name. And if there's actually a legal case associated with that, I do understand why she wouldn't be able to talk about it. But it was later on stuff. It is very clear that during 2012 to 2016, maybe one era is when I thought that, like definitely some type of trafficking happened because her story matched the story that I've heard from other girls actually that were strippers all of a sudden and got hit up by a pimp. And before they knew it, they were a stripper and then an escort and then basically just a straight up prostitute. And, it's kind of sounds like what's more to her story. Oh, man. I had a hard time trying to make sense of what you just said. All right, Cashman. After talking to her family and I feel good about her story, but again, like I say in the story, I can't prove anything either. So it's like up to everyone else to be like, this is what I believe in. I also don't like the mob mentality that one can just condemn someone without explicit fact. Do you now? Because that's exactly what you did against Stefango in relation to Eliza without having any facts, without having any kind of evidence. And ironically, now you're explaining to Chavez how wrong that kind of action is. The same thing that you've done. Anyway, Chavez, how these things spin out of control is really wild to watch. I've been tracking disinformation conspiracy theories online. Like, what's that's what my digital channel was really about. I would always try to debunk the flat earth or whatever crazy conspiracy came up, no matter how detrimental it could have been. I was going against the grain with what everyone else was watching or what everyone else was saying. I went out and then I said it. With this Eliza thing, I didn't have any expectations for this other than me to be shouting into the wind, right? I didn't expect it to get so toxic so quickly, but I understand how YouTubers are, right? That's what people don't understand is like they're just like junkies. It's psychological operations. So when I watch this stuff build the way that it did, obviously it was like, oh, there could be some kind of like operation running here. I do not. I do know that there is this air of scariness that follows me around because of my history. When the article says that I'm fed, like you technically, I guess, right in every way because I've actually volunteered for government. I have government contracts, but I'm an IT guy. Man, okay, it's hard to get through. Cashman, it seems like you can't trust anybody, especially on the internet. Who knows? You could be a robot talking to me right now. Chavez, I'm not a robot. I'm just in my tiny apartment. Cashman, do you have any advice for people when they might see these crazy disinformation campaigns happen? A lot of people might not recognize it. You want people to be able to recognize these things. Chavez, my advice for recognizing these types of disinformation campaigns is pretty simple. If it goes in with something else that you've already been thinking, and you're getting some kind of healing out of it, you should be doing your due diligence to double research it. Because it's my experience in these disinformation campaigns is that they were meant to target something that you yourself already have been looking into or already have a feeling on. If you want something to be true, you should take more time with that particular thing, especially if somebody feeds you a piece of information that just automatically hits your confirmation bias. People have been doing this for many years, whether it's been flat earth or satanic ritual abuse. Okay, whatever, dude. Cashman, do you think there's a goal? Do you think there's a goal to this? Like, is it just chaos? Is it to gain power over people? Chavez, for the people that I interacted with, it always seemed to boil down to money. It's always been about that for them. It's a confidence game for criminals who like to sow chaos and manipulate people because they have no morals. They just simply want chaos. They play both sides of things all the time. I'm not a psychopath. I'm not really even a criminal. I just, for some reason, have ran into many criminals over my lifetime trying to like understand how these people operate. I mean, uh, whether it's like a huge drug dealers that are in federal prison now, or just people that became connected to me through like the piracy thing, right? I don't understand why they do half these things. That's why with the Eliza thing, I definitely didn't want it to end up like this. I would much rather, have been able to talk to her. If I were to give her a message today, obviously I would say, look, I'm definitely sorry that this kind of rolled out the way that it did. I take responsibility for what I've done and what I've said, and if I've been wrong, I apologize. Unlike all these other people on the internet that are just making video after video after video collecting cash. There was never any intention to have her harassed into oblivion, right? That's not what happened. I just wanted some simple answers. This thing kind of spiraled out of control in a way that I can't control, and it's not the first time something like this has happened around me, but I'm saying that I'm hoping that it will be last. Look, look, here's the thing. Okay, dude. Yeah, so you've been a victim of harassment from this group that you're trying to whistleblow. You've been a victim by Shane just bundling you with these same people that you're trying to whistleblow, and maybe even, um, you know what, like, this is such an insane take after being accused of what you've been accused of by Shane, right? All this stuff. But anyway, so it is never your intention to have Eliza harassed. Eliza is not being harassed. You know what? She deserves every criticism that she can pick up on. Obviously, like with all things in internet, Eliza might be picking up some truly like stupid comments or like violent threats or whatever it might be. But even those, like, yeah, those are wrong. But you know what? All the criticisms, all the legit criticisms that she's being buried in, those are legit, right? So you can't just dismiss those. Shane, you can't just make this entire thing go away by just reframing it as, oh yeah, look, even the original gang stalker was being gang stalked by the gang stalkers that he was trying to whistleblow for gang stalking. And like everybody that's in the chats, like are like this as well, basically acting like gang stalkers. This is stupid, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go with my sentiment, which is who needs insults when you have apologies like this, right? Everybody's waiting for an apology from Timcast, from Shane, from Tim, but none of them are going to deliver it, right? You're just gonna get some half-assed thing or a spin or whatever instead, because really, I mean, Tim's had this attitude for quite a while. Like, unless you're a big content creator, unless you're at like the level of like Jeremy at the quartering, then you might be directly addressed. Otherwise, like all the small guys, all the little potatoes, they don't, for Tim, you guys just don't matter, right? Who gives a shit what happens to you because of Eliza's strikes or bans or whatever? That's always going to be the attitude from Tim Cass and from Tim Pool because he's like that. It's like, well, oh, you're from this big channel, or you did this well-known thing, or this or that. Um, of course, he's gonna bend to their whims because it gives Tim clout, and really, he's very laser focused on making Timcast a financial success or whatever it is. But listen, nothing's been addressed. The people that have been insulted by the chat comments that used to exist before, by the things that have been heard by um, the people, like there's no apology coming. It's all going to be a spin. Eliza was a victim. Uh, so the latest spin is Eliza was a victim. Defanga was a victim of the uh, whistleblowers that he's trying to air out, and they're still victimizing him. Yeah, everything's gonna be a victim. Like you put, you know, it's just all nonsense. Anyway, so I don't. I think that's. I think Tim thinks this is the end of it. Um, and I think he feels like this is a good enough resolution for everyone involved, including um, Cassandra, who's supposed to be on top of this shit, right? Shane, who wrote this garbage in the first place in three different parts, and also just added another piece of turd onto this series. Um, None of this is good. None of this has been resolved. I highly doubt that I'm ever going to pay attention to Timcast again. I mean, I notice there might be some guests that I might listen in on and just try to ignore Tim and his crew. For example, the Jimmy Dore was a good one. He actually had something interesting to say, unlike Tim does most shows. And unlike the nonsensical garbage that Ian spits out usually. So, I don't know, man. Um, it's getting harder and harder to try to pay attention to Tim because he's obviously been so, I don't know, ignorant of what his own audience wants, I think. Okay, so I guess we'll move on. Um, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like Timcast is not doing well. Um, you can tell even by the latest thing. Like you go into, let's see, let's look for his, right. So this is the latest video, and yeah, you read through the comments, you read through the chats, and it's just It's just people that are. It's just people that are like not happy with him. Even people that are subscribed to him, I guess. Which is kind of weird. Like, why do you guys even pay this guy, right? Just get out of there. But anyway, nothing's resolved. Tim's gonna be Tim. Timcast is gonna be Timcast. He's still gonna have a garbage crew with him. Cassandra, who completely. How do you publish stories like that as an editor of Timcast? Like, how does that happen? A garbage, nonsensical trash writer like Shane, his articles are extremely hard to get through, including this latest addendum, right? And all of it's getting burned by people in the comments, right? Like Shane said, there's nothing he has seen that will make him not believe in Eliza. My question is, what made him believe her to begin with? What blew it up wasn't anything DeFranco did. It was what Eliza did. She got people's Twitter accounts locked. Yeah, exactly. Like all these people know exactly what's up, right? And whether Tim says it or not, he's going to go on dismissing them as just a bunch of drama people that don't know anything. Obviously, Tim is so much smarter than these people, and like his guests that he has on that has um, they're obviously better because they have X number of views. It's just dumb. Okay, so well, I don't for unless Shane Cashman, unless anybody at Timcast actually offers an apology or offers a follow up to this, I don't think they will. It's already being completely buried on the Timcast website. Super hard to find even, and it's only been like 2 days. So um, yeah, I don't think anything more is coming. I'm probably going to move on to analyzing the fallout from Sydney Watson's lawsuit against the Blaze and what that means, and like what it means to have um, sort of these thin-skinned people in the space, just causing all sorts of trouble. But anyway, that'll be future content. For now, I'll just wrap this up. Yeah, no apology detected. All simpery.